Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. Sorry about yesterday. We'll get into that. But today and each Thursday, um, and a schedule for the channel. Today and each Thursday, we will be taking a look at Level Up 5th Edition, A5E, whatever the name you would like to call it. Unfortunately, it does have a pretty basic name. Your variation on classic 5th edition. We're going to take a look at player options, and I decided to pick one at random. We're going to take a look at the Berserker and character options, and we're going to quickly go through it, and if there's any time for looking at any of the other books or other options or a little bit more detail, we will do that. So first, let's get through the intro and then get into Level Up 5th edition and maybe a little bit of a schedule for this channel. So if there's something specifically you'd like to take a look at, you can just tune in for that time. So again, I apologize for yesterday. I woke up and then my mind just could not work. It was like it was like no function. I quickly made a cup of coffee, got my Keurig, and I was just like befuddled for it happens. And I was like, even when I'm befuddled, I'm like, okay, I like to exercise the mind muscle. What the hell's going on? I just could not do anything. I was like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to do? I don't know what I'm doing. What do I do next? So I apologize for that. Moving forward, Mondays and Fridays are going to be kind of my open talking days. I want to go back to my Future Fridays, where we talk about science fiction and technology and transhumanism and posthumanism and things like that on Future Friday. So we're going to go back to Future Friday. I like having a theme so that, first of all, people have a choice in what they'd like to come to the channel with, and it allows me to make a schedule ahead of time so that all the links are up and you can just tune in instead of me having them ready 15 minutes to a half an hour before the show goes live. So it also allows me to do that. And I am terrible at self-promotion. There have been many projects I've worked on. Level Up 5th edition is one of them, and I thought it would be great for me to give back to the people that I've worked with and projects that I have been working on. So Monday is just going to be my Monday. Whether it's pop culture, whether it's something in the media, something in our tabletop community. Yeah. Also, I was listening into a very long Heath's Geekverse, a table talk episode about Top Gun, which also distracted me too, because I love literary references and analysis and things like that. So I'm trying to get on a show so we could talk about Sicaria. Yes, I know this is from what I have visually is the Berserker from 5th edition. I wasn't going to go in alphabetical order. I jump around just a little bit, and people like to know what the game is about. 5th edition, what makes it different than classic Dungeons and Dragons. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I thought I would give some insight into this kind of thing. So thank you. They're very much true. And I know this isn't, for many of you, this isn't your thing, but for the channel and for the projects I've worked on, I thought for Tuesday I would give back to the Facebook community that has allowed me to have, and I'm going to put this air quotes, career, which is Absolute Tabletop. So I thought I would visit some of their worlds on Tuesdays. And then on Wednesday, I thought I would promote something I'm currently working on, which is currently right now, I am in the process of the successful Kickstarter of Cool Name Goes Here. And I thought I would take a look at that. There are many Kickstarters that I've received. Like, for example, I have one here called The Hidden Isles, which is a game completely based on around tarot and tarot decks, things like that. So anyway, that's that's just cleaning up. um, so that I just wanted to get that off my chest. So uh, for those who want to go back and take a look at this, apologize for that, but we're going to take a look at the Berserker. So the Berserker has replaced the Barbarian in the names, in the nomenclature, and things like that. It's the name they chose. Remember, this is through playtesting and things like that. Whether you like name changes for classes or not, it's still the same thing. But I will tell you that the Berserker, if you take a look at the and mind you, there's not much difference in the Berserker. Filled with rage, um, brutalistic, aggressive, animalistic, and that kind of thing. But over on our chart on the right side page in this double page spread, you'll see that all of the charts will usually have the level, and then next to it a proficiency bonus, and then the names of various features. And of course, we will take a look at some of those features as we move ahead. Not going to be possible to do that in one episode to go to 20th level, but we'll try to get as far as we can. The number of rages that they have when using their rage, rage hit points that they gain, and then talents and maneuvers and maneuver degree. Talents are like options for your character listed at the end of the entry of the class, and it gives you a little bit of a bump or a feature. Many times these are exploration styled talents, and sometimes mixed in with a bit of social ones, so that the characters tend to have more options, more diversity in them. Diversity in terms of 5 people can make a Berserker and they all turn out differently, both level progression and in their inception and things. And then maneuvers and maneuver degree are maneuvers are the warriors or martial classes version of spells. They are non-magical, but they are like martial maneuvers. They are when using weapons, when unarmed, and things like that. And they have different degrees. They go up to 5th degree, and you spend exertion points to do them. All the martial classes have access to maneuvers. Only the fighter has access to all the maneuver schools. The other martial classes, the martial, berserker, monk, paladin, actually better known as the herald, and the ranger, can gain martial talents, martial, they're not even feats, they are martial abilities from the various schools, but they have a limited number of schools. I believe there's over 175 maneuvers, and yeah, going through all of them. We'll even do an episode on one Thursday about just martial maneuvers by themselves, but we'll get into that. So of course, creating a character, this is very similar. Because this is rewritten 5th edition from the ground up, you guys will automatically know what this is about. Class feature, their hit dice are D12. At first level, they have 12 hit points plus their constitution modifier, and then at higher levels, they roll a D12 or take a 7 plus the constitution modifier after first level. Normally seen that way. Armor proficiency, something a bit different for this class than the Barbarian, is that this Berserker does start out with light and medium armor and shields, and you can bump up to heavy armor and still be a Barbarian styled armored tank in many ways. Yeah, so those are still the same: strength and constitution, bunch of skills, and then there's various defenses. And what you'll see in 5th edition, what you'll see in advanced 5th edition or A5E is, as you gain levels, it's like a tri-track. Imagine 3 elevators moving up as you gain levels, and you can move from elevator to elevator or steps to steps, moving back and forth along the way as you gain levels, so that, like I said, multiple people can create the same character class but you have different options along the way, and you're able to retroactively change certain options through the growth of your character by going backwards and saying, you know what, my character no longer lives in the jungle, they now live in the desert. I would probably not use this ability and lose my access to that, but because of now that I've been in the desert for 8 years, I would have learned something else. And then basically it's an excuse to go, oh, you know what, I really wouldn't have this talent any longer, but I probably would learn to use something else, and then you get to pick something else for your character. Of course, we have proficiencies and equipment and talents and things like that. So first part, battle defense. Starting at first level, you decide how best to protect yourself on the battlefield, relying on barbaric might or encased in weighty armaments. Choose one of the following options, and this is at the very beginning of character creation. You either get to pick a juggernaut or rugged defense. Now, rugged defense, we've kind of seen this before, okay? While you are not wearing any armor, your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your constitution modifier. You can use a shield and still gain this benefit. In addition, your speed increases by 5 feet while you aren't wearing heavy armor. At 5th level, your speed increases by an additional 5 feet. And that's the classic loincloth wearing barbarian that we've seen, Conan-esque, that we've seen plenty of times. Or you get the option of picking the juggernaut. You gain proficiency with heavy armor, and that's at 1st level. In addition, your speed is not reduced by wearing heavy armor. You can still benefit from raging while wearing heavy armor, and you do not count the weight of any worn armor when determining your carrying capacity. And it's kind of cool. So you can play that kind of individual. And then there's developed traits. Let me see what you guys say. He's so funny. Berserker is big. If I can remember through the, you know what? Let me put this back to put the one page so you guys can actually see what the hell's going on. If I'm not mistaken, the reason for the name change was because in many cultures around the world consider everybody else that's outside of their culture, calling them barbarians. And I believe when the information came back, oh, by the way, Level Up 5th edition or A5E is from N-World, and so they have a very large constituency of readers for the blog and interviews and things like that. And there were many people that took part in the surveys, thousands, tens of thousands of responses, and lots of people felt like it was it had too many connotations with a real world descriptor that doesn't match what the character class is. The character class is based around rage. Rage is more related to Berserker, whereas Barbarian is almost related to the outsider. And so that's where that change came from. Just like the Paladin changed to a Herald, because not everything is about. Paladin can be a bit culturally specific. But again, this came from feedback, so you can't control the feedback. You get what you get. Develop talents, whether in the ruins of an ancient civilization, the barren terrain of the hinterlands, or the back alleys of a prosperous city, Berserkers are adept at surviving and interacting with their environments. Remember, I told you that the exploration pillar has been really embraced in A5E. At first level, you gain a developed talent of your choice. Your developed talents are detailed at the end of the class description. The talents known column of the Berserker table shows when you learn more developed talents. Of course, we have Rage. Starting at first level, you can go into a Rage. While raging, you gain the following benefits if you aren't wearing heavy armor, unless, of course, you have picked the Juggernaut. And Rage is basically the same. You have advantage with strength checks and strength saving throws. Every round that you remain in rage, at the start of your turn, you gain a number of rage hit points that increases as you gain levels as a Berserker, as shown in the rage hit point column. And whenever you take damage, you reduce your rage hit points first, then your regular hit points. Rage hit points stack each round until your rage ends, at which point they dissipate. The maximum number of rage hit points you can have at any one time is equal to 5 times your Berserk level. So they begin to increase. Of course, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. If you are able to cast spells, you can't cast them or concentrate on them while raging. You gain no benefit from temporary. You gain no benefit from temporary hit points. While raging, you cannot choose to use the fallback reaction. Fallback is a reaction you can take, similar but not quite the same as disengage, and it also to encourage players to have the option of getting out of combat, because numerically the mechanics really didn't lend themselves to players wanting to retreat. You can't do that while you're raging. Your rage lasts for 1 minute. It ends early if you are knocked unconscious. You can also end your rage on your turn as a bonus action. And then, long resting in your rage back. And again, we talk about the combat maneuvers. You start that at second level. At second level, you gain the ability to use combat maneuvers. You gain proficiency in 2 combat traditions from the following list. Adamant Mountain, Mirror's Glint, Rapid Current, Tempered Iron, Tooth and Claw. You learn 2 maneuvers of your choice from traditions you are proficient with. Martial maneuvers are similar to other skill trees, which means that if you take a first rank or first degree, say tempered iron maneuver, in order to get the second degree, you have to stay within that. So you can't pick. It's not like spells where you get to pick a second level spell that has no relation to the first level. First, you have to have a first degree ability to get the second degree ability to then move on to the third degree ability. And again, you can backwards relearn various things based on your character's progression when you gain various levels. So when you gain a new level, you could go back and change your combat maneuvers. But again, like I said, there's like 175 plus, I think it's 177, 76 or 70. I don't remember exactly. But they are divided by schools. And so you only have access to the Adamant Mountain, Mirror's Glint, Rapid Current, Tempered Iron, or Tooth and Claw. And yes, they have flavorful names, and they are thinking of the names. They do have a relation. The maneuvers have a relation to that name. So Adamant Mountain is about being tough and surviving attacks. As a matter of fact, gaining combat maneuvers if you are injured. Mirror's Glint is about distracting someone and mirroring someone and their maneuvers, things like that. Tempered Iron is so on and so forth. You gain an exertion pool equal to twice your proficiency bonus, and those are the points you would expend when using the various maneuvers. So if your proficiency bonus is +2 at first level, then you have 4 exertion points. To a maximum, I believe proficiency bonus maximum is +6. You multiply that by 2, you have 12 points that you can spend on your martial maneuvers. And again, any martial class has access to these maneuvers. Some of the abilities from the fighter class and some of the other martial maneuvers from some of the other martial classes were, this is weird to say, they were taken away and then placed into martial maneuvers that you can pick from the 175. So the fighter's ability to get an extra action has been dismantled and put into the combat maneuvers that you get to pick from, and then you get to stack that back into your character. So some other, like a monk could pick that, a version of that for their character, or a ranger, or again the barbarian. And then there's the maneuvers known table, and you regain your points after the end of a short and long rest. Usual stuff. And then let's get into what you guys have to say. I'm sure there's plenty of questions. I wish I could just pull this up. Sounds like political correctness creeping in. The term barbarian is from ancient Greek, meaning non-Greek speakers. Yeah, because they sounded like they were saying bar, bar, bar. And barbarian has been adapted for many other cultures. It is political correctness, but first of all, you get what you get, right? If you are putting out surveys for like names of things and what do people think, and what would you like to see, don't you like to see, this is what you're going to get. So you get what you're going to get, Yeah, Deadman says it's like the term psycho or bandit in many gun base. Yeah, they don't have a new special power for being a psycho. Bandit just differentiates the person from the normal civilians. Yep. The same thing, yes. So yes, it was essentially, a blanket term for all outsiders, but they were really referring to Germanic tribes from the north who did indeed resemble D&D barbarians 2,000 years ago. True, but it also has connotations, right? We human beings like to redefine terminology, and this just happens to be during this era where we're redefining it. We have no shortage of words being redefined and recontextualized in a current parlance. So yeah, it's a thing. It's not a big deal. I wouldn't it's no different than not changing it, right? It's the exact same thing. It's like I have a particular problem with paladins and heralds personally, because I feel like it only represents a specific type of cultural warrior type that worldwide does not represent that. But and like I said, that's just me. So that either means I have to change it, or it's changed and then you'd have to change it. It's the same exact thing. So second level, danger sense. You gain an uncanny sense of when things nearby aren't as they should, giving you an edge when you dodge away from danger. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects you can see, such as traps and spells. You gain this benefit. To gain this benefit, you can't be blinded, deafened, or incapacitated. Furious critical. We've seen this before. Second level, you learn to maximize the effects of your mightiest blows, empowering your critical hits. Choose one furious critical. Again, here's another choice. At fourth level and every even Berserker level after, you learn an additional furious critical. So to say that again, at second level, you get to choose one furious critical, and then at fourth level and every even level thereafter, you learn an additional furious critical, and you get to choose one of those. Simple damage isn't all that a Berserker can deal in combat. With just the right application of force, a Berserker can inflict a number of conditions on their opponent. Unless otherwise noted, the DC to resist such effects is equal to 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your constitution modifier. And we've seen this 8 plus proficiency plus modifier plus X modifier. And this is in parity to, we see this as spellcasters. Usually it's intelligence, wisdom, or charisma modifier. For martials, it's strength, dex, or con modifier. And there are abilities that are related to that to resist those kind of things at DC levels. Usually they're very physical for martials. This isn't a magical power per se, but it's just it's part of the character class. So you're able to blast your opponents with a condition along with your criticals. So we have like blinding maneuver, of course. Your attack flings debris into the target's eyes, causes blood to run into their eyes, or otherwise impedes their vision. Maybe a punch in the eye, like a black eye, or maybe breaking their nose or something. Anyway, when you score a critical hit, the target is blinded for a number of rounds equal to your proficiency bonus. Dazzling prowess, you must be 6th level. When you score a critical hit, the target makes a wisdom saving throw or is stunned until the end of your next turn. And there's a bunch of these: deafening blow, disorienting strike, inspiring flare, jockeying blow, of course, deafening blow. When you score critical hit, the target is deafened for a number of rounds equal to half your proficiency bonus. Well, I wonder why they picked half and then full for blinded. I'm not sure about that. Disorienting strike. When you score critical hit, your target treats all creatures as though they have half cover, which is kind of different, but it's cool. Which means +2 to AC, dexterity, +2 to saving throws, and ability checks made to hide. And that's a disorienting strike. Elemental Wrath. Your fury is so great that it incites the very elements to join you. When you score critical hit after dealing damage, the weapon that dealt the blow is charged with acid, cold, fire, or lightning chosen when you take this furious critical. The weapon now deals an additional 1d6 damage of the chosen type. This effect lasts for a number of rounds equal to your proficiency bonus and does not stack with successive critical hits. And then it can be taken multiple times as you gain levels, up to 4d6 at 20th level. And whenever you gain a Berserker level, you may change the damage type. So in many of these options, you'll see that as you gain levels, you can retroactively change a thing. Furious Momentum. When you score a critical hit, the next melee weapon attack you make before the end of your turn is a critical hit on a roll of 17 to 20. So it just starts to stack up. Once you have used this feature, you cannot do so again until you've finished a short rest. Alternatively, you can expend one use of rage to use this feature. The effects of this furious critical can be combined with any other. Inspiring Flare. That creature gains an when you score a critical hit, choose a creature that you can see. That creature gains an expertise die on its next attack roll. So your Berserker, you're going Berserk, inspires someone else, kind of like a bard in a certain way. Jockeying Blow. When you score a critical hit, you can move up to 30 feet. Knockdown Strike. When you score a critical hit, target makes a strength saving throw or is knocked prone. And then Mighty Blow. You can roll one additional weapon damage die when determining extra damage for a critical hit. And it can be taken again for 13th and 17th level. You can only get that at 6th level. And then Overbearing Hit. When you score a critical hit, the target is pushed 15 feet away from you in a straight line. Furious Critical can be taken a second time to increase the distance to 30 feet. And there's so many more. Pinning Strike, Relentless Strike, Terrifying Force, Revitalizing Force. Or, sorry, Vitalizing, not Revitalizing. It is Vitalizing Force. At 3rd level, when you learn a new developed talent, you can instead choose from Fighter, Soldiering Knacks. So each class, Barbarian, under the Berserker, it's called Talents. Under the Soldier or Fighter, it's called Soldiering Knacks. At 3rd level, you can pick from them as well. And we'll see what they are. Here at 3rd level, you start to get into even though we talked about other options, we're going to get into more options. So as each character class in 5th edition, when you get to a certain level, you get a I need a good description for it. You get a pinnacle ability, and in A5E, when you gain another pinnacle ability, you have a choice in which one of those there are. So you are a warrior born. Also at 3rd level, the ways of combat that have come naturally to you bring new and unexpected lessons. Choose one of the following. And I've said this before. I'm not sure if it follows here exactly, but I've said that many of these are like combat oriented, exploration oriented, and socially oriented. And depending on the kind of game that you're running with your players, the choices that they have as they gain levels would be based on your specific setting and themes and things like that. So agitate, this is that third level. You can pick one of these. Many battles have taught you how to spot aggressive body language, like a pursed eyebrow, tense temple, or protruding vein, and you've mastered using these cues to unsettle others outside of combat. Make an intimidation check opposed by the insight check of a creature you can see and hear within 20 feet. On a success, you subtly press the creature to act out. What exactly the creature does, like back away quickly, blurt out something compromising, draw a weapon, look towards a concealed or disguised companion, protectively touch something it is carrying, is at the narrator's discretion. Once you have used this feature, you cannot do so again until you finish a short or long rest. And this is an example of the like somewhat non-combat version of building a character and class. And many people who they run their games as basically game as war would look at this ability and go, yeah, it's not that effective. But if you're running a very narrative, socially engaging thing, and you are the Berserker, and you're like, I feel like I'm not making charisma checks. What am I supposed to do? These are the abilities that you're going to see in these martial classes that allow them to operate in a social method, because this might be very important in the social context by unsettling someone, by agitating them, and getting that person to reveal, like, maybe they have something important in their pocket, or they reveal a secret door, or something like that. You may also pick fearsome reputation. Word spread of your prodigious strength. Whenever you are in a settlement, or at least one commoner approaches you with a modest gift or bribe and beseeches you to help settle a feud, move a large obstacle, or otherwise make use of your impressive might. In addition to their offering, they are eager to tell you about their home and neighbors. And back in the day, this used to be something kind of listed in the backgrounds, and instead this is more of like, hey, someone's going to approach you, like, could you help me out? You seem like a strong person. We'd love to. And then they start to gossip about their neighborhood. And then, or you get to pick imposing prowess. When an ally you can see and hear makes a deception or persuasion check, you can use your reaction to support them with an intimidating display of strength or an unsettling glower. Your ally re-rolls the check, gaining an expertise die on the roll. Lots of things to help out your allies. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, this is all based on surveys. Fine. Democracy in action. Yes, it's not a big deal. It's just a damn Barbarian from the first edition of North Arcana was awesome. Yeah, I remember that version too. Yeah, the non-magic item using version of that as well. Also, Andrew had an awesome video on barbarians in the frozen realms of the north, where ignorance prevails. People be rolling d12s for hit points. Oh, you even left the link in there. That's awesome. Hey, Haliope. Yeah. So, ability score improvement, ASI. We've seen that before. Definitely for this Berserker, same thing. Extra attacks, crushing blows, things like that. So crushing blow by 5th level, your martial prowess is such that you're able to land attacks to your best effort. And we see this in the Berserker, right? The Barbarian, where it's like damage ability stacked on damage ability. But as I read previous to that, they wanted to throw in some social context to this as well. So yes, your melee weapon attacks score a critical hit on roll of 19 or 20, and then it increases to between 18 and 20 at 12th level, and by 17th level, it's between 17 and 20 for a critical attack. Extra attack at 5th level, martial presence. At 6th level, your methodology to battle seeps further into the way you interact with others and how they interact with you. Choose one of the following. Again, this is one of these things where you get to diverge into a 2 or 3 or 4 path system. So characters, even if they're all the same character class, will differ. So under forceful, people respond favorably to your vigor. You can always choose to use Constitution when making persuasion checks, and that's kind of interesting, right? You are a berserker, but you're not scary. You're more like people like to be around you. they are. It's like that one football player, American football player, right? Just getting everybody hyped up and whatnot. Or you can pick mighty. You turn your toughness into a tool. You always choose to use Constitution when making intimidation checks. There's the scary one. Or you can pick scary. And you always choose to use Constitution when making deception checks. It's commonly thought that it's best not to ask you for too much clarification or detail. In addition, when you fail a deception check against a creature, it makes a wisdom saving throw against a DC equal to your passive deception score. On a failure, it thinks twice about your dishonesty and your deception check becomes a success. And again, that's very much like I want to make my Berserker a little bit more deceptive or urbanized or socialized and things like that. Again, advanced battle defense at 7th level. You can choose one of the following. Enhanced vitality. You get to choose intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. When you make the chosen saving throw against an effect that deals half damage on a success, you can choose to instead make a Constitution saving throw. So you get to substitute your con for your mental abilities. Or preternatural agility. You can evade danger to an unbelievable degree. When you make a dexterity saving throw against an effect that deals half damage on a success, you take no damage, and half on a failure. Rogue, anyone? Battle Moxie. At 9th level, your experiences in combat teach you more about how to live in the world. Choose one of the following, and that's at 9th level. Provoking attitude. You know how to piss people off. Okay, we're done. We don't even need stats for that. But anyway, you can expend one use of rage and choose a creature within 60 feet that can hear or see you. The creature makes a charisma saving throw against your furious critical DC. Is that 8 plus proficiency plus con, right? On a failure, it makes or accepts a challenge. The nature of this challenge is at the narrator's discretion, but is usually a dual or opposed check, like archery with dexterity. What else to say? Arm wrestling with strength, competing with a gaming set, distance running with constitution, wrestling with athletics, and so on. Basically, it's like, I challenge you. And then the challenge could be anything like gaming-wise or sports-wise or something like that. Roaring Paws. When initiative is rolled, you can expend one use of rage to make an intimidation check to briefly unveil the boundless fury within a furious roar. On a success, each creature stops what it is doing and can only make statements and a deception, intimidation, or persuasion check on its turn. On a success by 5 or more, initiative is re-rolled, and you choose a number of creatures equal to your Constitution modifier to gain advantage on their initiative roll. A little bit, I think that's a little bit wordy, but I get it though, right? It's like you make a roar, and either you get to act first, or you prevent the other people from acting, and they can only use their social skills. Or you get to pick takes one to know one. You know another warrior when you see one. When a creature you see a creature, you know if it is proficient with more than simple weapons or has access to combat maneuvers. I think that could have been lowered down rather than 9th level, but you never know, right? School of the Open Road. It's kind of funny. Don't get fooled again. You can always choose to use Constitution for insight checks and gain an expertise die when rolling to detect a falsehood. In addition, you are seen as an arbiter of truth by those who have heard of your reputation, and you may be called in to mediate a trial or question a suspected wrongdoer, even in larger settlements. or you might be a storyteller. You have an ear for interesting events, places, and people of the past. You can use Constitution when making history checks and gain an expertise die when the subject has something to do with war, battle, or martial prowess. I know that sounds kind of funny, but you get it, right? Like Constitution for history. That doesn't make any sense. But you get the point. The movie 300 was narrated by a character who left the battle to try to recruit others and told stories about what was happening with the 300, even though he wasn't there. It says, in addition, your reputation means that people assume that you want to know the history or perhaps gossip of the settlement you're visiting. When you are at a tavern or social gathering, they are likely to approach you with tales of the Baroness' last stand 50 years ago, or mention history in the making in the form of the Duke's child being rumored to be a werewolf. And this is all narrator discretion, right? Or maybe you get trial and error. Between learning from both your own mistakes or those of others, you've collected a considerable knowledge about the natural world. You can always choose to use Constitution when making nature checks and gain an expertise die on checks made to identify a plant or beast. An expertise die starts at a D4, and if you have multiple forms of expertise that apply, the die steps up. It's a dice chain or dice stepping, so it goes from D4 to D6 to D8. D10, D12, things like that, if you have multiple expertise die that apply to that form. All right, we've got to 11th level. That's about halfway through. I would like to get to the talents. Paragon of Rage, 20th level. Here we go. Talents. And I'm a 2-page spread this just so you'll see there's plenty of talents here. So talents are what you get to pick. Usually you get one. I mean, not usually. The Berserker gets one, and then as you gain certain levels, you can gain more than them. And these are like little minor things. Under developed talents, there's things like Agile Sprinter, Flock Step, Lead the Pack. And yes, some are gated by level to pick them. And usually the talents are very minor. Like Agile Sprinter, you are adept at traversing obstacles while running, able to efficiently and rapidly climb and leap between trees, vines, rooftops, and ropes. You gain an expertise die on athletics and acrobatics checks made to run, climb, and swing. Path of Blustery Autumns. Instead of fighting the sharp winds, you have learned from them. You gain plus 10-foot increase to your speed when calculating your travel pace. Additionally, you can choose to ignore difficult terrain outside of combat. And these are like little exploration talents. And there's others here like Path of Drawing Springs, Path of Lean Winters, Path of Scorching Summers, sharpened senses, so on and so forth. And then there's archetypes. Berserker archetypes, the Dreadnought, the Rager, the Tempest, so on and so forth. Let me get back into what you guys have to say. The support, I guess you're saying intimidation could fire backwards. Party talks to the king and the barbarian looks intimidating. Welcome to the prison. Oh, I think I see what you're saying. The party talks to the king and the intimidating guy standing in the background. The king is like, yeah, I was going to be nice to you guys, but you trying to step up in my face. So guards, get them. Amon, what's going on? Advanced 5th edition was the system I read up before the D&D session we tried to swap into. Sadly, didn't work out after the long break. That's all right. System was an interesting read. The dice fused together for a higher range. Yes, they do. It's instead of the desire was not to modifier hunt. Some feel that Pathfinder, you know, called Math Finders, where you start to try to find plus ones, plus twos, plus two modifiers constantly. And instead, it was a desire to have intricacy with the modifiers without having to hunt. And that's where the expertise dies. So all character classes have expertise dice or have access to it. And if the expertise die is related to something, so it might be knowledge about nature, it could be and usually expertise die is about skill or knowledge about something, so it could be related to a region. For example, a character could go through the accursed desert and gain an expertise die that they can use in the accursed desert, and it only applies there. Again, if you have multiple avenues of expertise die that apply, they stack, and they do the step chaining or step dicing, where if you've got 2 expertise die, you don't roll 2 dice, you just go from a d4 to a d6. And of course, as we know, d4, d6, d8, d10, d12, it goes up by +2. And so instead of searching for +2, -2, -2, +2, you just roll the die. And people like rolling dice, so that's where that came from. And again, sometimes when you see things like this, where you're like, when you question, why would you do a thing like this? Like, why would you change the name? Why would you make this a die instead of a bonus? Why would you make this a short rest versus a long rest? Things like that. It comes from playtesting. It comes from feedback. And it can also have unintended consequences with other things that it makes sense to leave it the way it is or change a thing. And that's exactly what happened. I had access to that survey information. It's pretty daunting to have to go through those numbers. And also for people that don't like a thing, I have to tell you, and the moderators over at N-World, moderators meaning when we were designing the game, made a point to say that negative nannies don't matter much. And I know that sounds funny when you're talking about a game where you're like, well, wait a minute, I want to have impact too in this game. When someone says they don't like a thing, they're also, you have to find out whether they don't like it and won't purchase it, or they don't like it but they want it to be better. And usually when you gain a very good critique, someone will say both, I don't like this thing, here's how I would change it, or what I would see an improvement on or replacement for. And that's the information they did listen to. For people that were like, fold arms, pouty lipped, I don't like the thing, that information was ignored. And that's why I'm very much a proponent of, like, don't just say you hate something because it doesn't grow anything. It's just destructive comment. It's, I don't like it. And the only response to that is, okay, right? But if you have a replacement for a thing, or an analysis that's a little bit deeper, then people will listen to you. But if you just go around talking about, I don't like a thing, for the most part, you're just going to be ignored. Anyone who's got any caliber of expertise is going to completely ignore that comment, because it doesn't build anything. What creators want is feedback. Hey, I didn't like that song. Ignore. Hey, I didn't like the song. It rubbed me the wrong way. There's a tone. I would have, triple stepped this and stepped it up a beat, or blah, 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 or added background vocals. And then a person goes, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Shy Squash says, Dreadnought, Rager, Tempest. Does having set character archetypes down to this level of detail not impede on your ability to create original, unique characters? It sounds like a cookie cutter system. It's weird, but players like that kind of stuff. For me, I'm an OSR generalist. Like, I'm with you. I don't need things to be detailed that way, but players like, there's a desire. This is advanced 5th edition, right? It's like advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and that means more detail. And I equate this to this kind of thing. Some players want specific, separate mechanical features to separate a knight from a samurai. And in my opinion, they are exactly identical. They just have a different cultural makeup. But some people need to have a difference between those things, and this is for those people. Yeah, they, you know, yeah. I'm with you because I'm very much OSR. Like if you gain a bonus to swing a sword, that could be swinging a sword in any and I can put my own flavor on it. But some players just want that. Ishtar says, I read up on the Warlock because of my character we tried to build. Was an interesting read. That's all right. I want to see if the little... Does it show up? Oh, it didn't show up, the little icon, yeah. Also, you can't not work much with it. Often like to be specific with suggestions on why my way of thought it came from. Not sure. Hey, Anon. Yeah, I don't like this. Sadly, you can't guess what was the underlying prime to improve it. Exactly. And that's why those comments were basically like, they were just ignored. We as a creator, it's not people not liking something. It is a desire to what can improve that thing that people listen to. Yeah, it's the exactly. Yeah, exactly, Adon. Yeah, like I don't like XY because, and then you state the thing. Now, sometimes the reason why you don't like something could just be very personal, and then that'll be ignored. Like, I don't like that thing because it reminds you of my cousin. It's very helpful, right? But if you say I don't like that thing because there are too many die rolls and it slows game progress, oh, that's easy to listen to. You go, oh, that is right. Because that means they have to make a saving throw, and then after the saving throw, they have to roll in this random table, and then on the random table, they have to pick this thing. Yeah, we get it, right? That's very good. Algobot checking in. He's so funny. Also, those Amanita Berserker mushrooms are the origin of the name Jesus or Jesus from ancient Sumerian. I didn't know that. Yeah, like I remember the word assassin came from Hashishans, I believe. Aderlin says, yes, there's a difference between I don't like this and it doesn't work. Thing is, I've found designers often have as much trouble differentiating two as their customers. Now, that's true, too. Listen, sometimes people take it personal, right? You spend a lot of blood, sweat, and tears creating a thing. We're human beings, so I can fold arms and pout my bottom lip out like the best of them, and go, well, you just don't understand, and then not want to change it. Which, like a writer, director, dancer, musician, or something like that. That's also it. Also can be taken pretty personal as well. It's just understanding that the product is more important than your ego. And once you get to that point, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Right. If this thing doesn't work. Now, mind you, there may be unintended consequences, right? Like someone may say, this thing should be in there, and the creator goes, no, we can't, we just cannot include that thing because there are unintended consequences when it deals with other aspects of the game. Yeah, as an example, out of the blue, and I agree. I see where you're going with this. There, Ishtar. This example out of the blue. There are many dice rolls during one round of combat. Through different reasons, could that create frustration on a table? At a table, what might not apply, but was an example of a question. I see what you're saying. So, like for example, in this version of the game, there's a lot of different die rolls. Heliopia says it well. In Skyrim, they didn't care, and it functions. Yeah, that happens too. Yeah, sometimes there are like in this, for example, talking about the Berserker, there are effects that are like, hey, if I do this thing, my ally gets to re-roll this other thing, And then when my ally gets to re-roll and then adds this expertise die, you're talking about dice stacking and things like that. Yeah, that's not not true. That is a true, it is a true thing, right? Where you can, you can start to, as especially when you're starting to go into higher levels, and you would hope that it's a learning curve, right? Like you really shouldn't start out at like 20th level creating a character for this game. Maybe, just maybe, we would start at first level and we get comfortable using those features. And at fifth level, we're used to using those features below. And then when you gain to the highest levels, like being a medical doctor, after a certain period of time, I myself would have zero idea what kind of words they're using. But when you become a medical doctor, all the things you learned in school are so commonplace that when you start having conversations and they're throwing around Latin terms, to them it's very simple. For me, I'd be like, oh, hold on, it's too complicated. This is too much work. But for them, they've already practiced it, right? And that's the same thing with learning anything new or different. We kind of get butt hurt because we're like, I gotta unlearn this thing and learn this new thing. This game sucks, and it's like, no, maybe it just so happens that we are reluctant to unlearn a thing and then relearn something else. The paragon aspect of being a berserker is at 20th level. You have reached the peak of brawn and stamina. Your strength and constitution scores increased by 4. Your maximum for those scores is now 24. I don't know why they picked 24 instead of 25. But I don't think the number really matters. In addition, while raging, you gain the following benefits. And it's 20th level. Your size increases by 1 category, from small to medium or medium to large. A medium-sized halfling. Your size doubles in all dimensions and your weight increases 8-fold. You gain twice as many rage hit points as normal. Creatures have disadvantage on saving throws made to resist your basic combat maneuvers. You deal double damage to objects. Your horizontal jump distance increases by 40 feet, and your vertical jump distance increases by 20 feet. And lastly, you gain a D8 expertise die on strength and constitution ability checks and saving throws. And again, probably one day, or maybe I might even divide this up, when it comes to combat maneuvers, because there are basic combat maneuvers more than just I attack, I disengage, I push and shove. There's some more. When I say basic, it means every character class has access to basic combat maneuvers, and then there are the more detailed combat maneuvers. Let's see if we can combat maneuvers. There we go. These are combat maneuver. This is the combat maneuver section, and it is detailed like the spell casting section, which is why the book is like 600 plus pages. It's pretty. Maybe that's too many pages, but I think it's a good 500 or something like that. So, and it talks about the combat traditions. Adam. Here we go. The schools are listed as follows: Adamant Mountain, Biting Zephyr, Mirror's Glint, Mist and Shade, Rapid Current, Razor's Edge, Sanguine Knot, Spirited Steed, Tempered Iron, Tooth and Claw, and Unending Wheel. No, they are all not, and you don't have to relate them to like Shaolin martial arts or anything like that. And the names in the beginning, at first there weren't going to be any names at all, and then started naming them, and they were a little bit too culturally specific, and it was difficult to differentiate them. So then feedback was like, maybe the schools should kind of sound like what you're doing, and then and so it went for that. So there are prerequisites for some of the maneuvers. Like I said, there's an exertion pool, which is twice your proficiency, and there are basic maneuvers that everybody has. So like disarm, grab on, knock down, shove, grapple, overrun. Every character class can do those things. And then there's here's the actual list of combat maneuvers. Yeah, we're not reading all those damn things. Maybe we'll go school by school, but that's about it, right? And it does give you, I mean, it is an easy to alphabetical list. Like, what is double shot? Oh, fire 2 missiles and do extra damage, right? You're not going to get a lot of the detail, but it's an easy, quick reference. What is a battering strike? Knock your opponent's weapon flying. If I had to make a distinction of maneuvers, they are like a 0.25 spellcaster class without these abilities being magical, if that makes sense, right? So if I was a fighter that had martial maneuvers versus like a wizard, the fighter with these martial maneuvers is like a 0.25 caster ability, I guess. And many of these maneuvers are again broken up from the other martial classes, placed in the combat maneuvers, and then you can get the pick back from them. So some of these are like broken up into different abilities. Like instead of the fighter simply having, what was the name of the ability that the fighter could do to get an extra attack or get an extra action, some of those things were broken up into other things put together. Mind you, this is the entire list. It goes on and on and on. What is it, 5 pages of them? Crazy, but yeah. And some of these abilities, you don't just get to pick one and it's all of them. Some of them are, here we go, single page, combat maneuvers. Sorry. This is just an example before maybe we go just another time. Adamant Mountain maneuvers. It starts out with 3 to 5 words that describe what it is: hardiness, might, power. And then some of these abilities, it will tell you, like, for example, this very first ability, Catch Your Breath, it costs 2 exertion points. It tells you it's a 1st degree Adamant Mountain bonus action. And some of these can be stances, are known as stances, like in Heavy Stance. It actually says it's a stance, and in which case you can't really mix and match stances unless you get a maneuver that allows you to mix and match a stance. And you can remain in that stance, kind of like concentrating on a spell, similar to that. Also, if a 2nd degree ability, you can't get that until you get a 1st degree ability. So there is some gating. There is you can't pass through the 2nd gate until you pass through the 1st gate. And again, the exertion points are twice your proficiency. So minimum of 4 points, maximum of 12. And so there's plenty of these, and they are listed by school. Adamant Mountain. This, I don't know if you want to call it a school, but it sounds good. Oh, here we go. That's what I wanted to find. A prerequisite. Crushing Blow, 2 points, 3rd degree Adamant Mountain action. Prerequisite, extra attack. So you can't get this unless your character class has given you an extra attack, and then you can use this ability. So anyway, thank you very much for letting me show this off to you guys. I really appreciate that. Let's see. I really appreciate that. Also, wow, the word Berserker was mentioned that many times? Huh. My mistake. Wow. Oh, okay. I did not know that. I mean, I figured it'd be mentioned maybe a couple dozen. Almost 80 times. There we go. Berserker. read your comments, and I'll let you guys go after this. Sorry. Dead air. He says, I like the read of the A5E book. I'm critical of myself, so I don't. Let's see. Got to go backwards a little bit. There we go. All right. Yeah, Anon says, yep. And regardless of how much you've invested, you are not the product of your producing. Yeah, exactly. So, listen, it's easy for us human beings to attach ourselves to what we do and what we're about and not separate the two. And I don't, I'm old enough. I'm an old man, old enough not to care about those kind of things. But we get attached to our desires, right? Like if I like a movie and you don't like the movie, sometimes we human beings will get upset. Oh, you don't like that movie? That means you don't like me. And that's not the case. Why the 10-minute wait time after following? Oh, I didn't know there was such a thing. Why would there be a wait time for that? I don't get. That's weird. That must be over a Twitch. Yeah, I'll look into it. I didn't put that up. I didn't make a 10-minute wait for that. Maybe it's because my channel's not very big. Xanderfell 84. Not sure. You're the first person that has brought that up, so I'm not really certain about that. The sacred mushroom in the. Wow. Oh, really? Emerging from the Sumerian word for toadstool. That's actually kind of cool. Anon says, I always thought the level 1 through 5 are more the tutorial phase to learn the mechanics of a class system slowly known so they flew organically. I agree with you that those lower levels are not just there to have fun, but it also teaches you about the system. So we can kind of, and mind you, maybe because of the Mercer effect, people think things have to be smooth. They don't have to be. If we're all just having fun and we make mistakes along the way and go, oh, it's been 45 minutes, I forgot I have this other thing, then we just go, oh, damn, that's right, your character does have this thing. All right, well, let's make sure we remember that next time. Or heck, we could even retcon it and go, well, that probably means you would have done this instead of that. Do you guys mind if we go back and kind of change the thing? We just have a conversation. I agree with you. Drew says 15 would not increase the modifier, thus it would be meaningless. And also base D&D has that too. Yeah, 25. Oh yeah, 25. Yeah, between 24 and 25 for the thing. I agree. Drew, you and I both know that the stat numbers really don't mean anything. It's all modifiers. I don't know. It's just a thing that came from the past, and it's held on to traditionally for no good reason, except that people just remember it, because we don't really use the numbers at all. Now in the OSR, when skills didn't exist to perform a history check or a charisma check or something like that, you would roll like a D20 or 3D6 book and match or below your stat. So if you had a 14 intelligence, do I know can I read the writing? And then we go, I don't know, grab a D20, roll 14 or lower. And that was the old school. And there's still OSR games that do that, but this turning 3 to 18 stat into another number and ignoring the 3 to 18 stat again, it's just pretty ridiculous. It should just be the bone. I mean, strength should just be like 1, 2, or 3, but people like big numbers. So Ishtar says, I like the details on the combat traditions. Oh, that's cool. This game should have been tested based on observing how many rules the players remembered to apply during play or knew in the first place, as that is about as objective as you can get in the field. It's very difficult when doing playtesting to do that, because a lot of times what happens is during the design of the game, there were like 5 or 6 different groups play testing different parts and then trying to bring them together. It was a little difficult for that. And World had, to be honest with you, there were like a good 6,000 to 8,000 testers and people going on, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. What is your fist style called, monk? Edgelord's fist? Yeah. Really? Edgelord's fist. I wear black and paint my fingernails black. I've got an oilcloth trench coat down to my ankles. I tried to create a magical sword fighter. It was a funny mix. Oh, man. Yeah. Chase is like, yeah, I agree, because I can't remember any of this shit. Sounds like a whole bunch of crunch for a combat heavy hack and slash that I wouldn't like. Strangely enough, not only are you correct, but there was actually an exerted effort to bring in social and exploration stuff into it to make it even more detailed. So you're not exactly wrong. It's just that, yeah, it's a lot of crunch. Yeah. Thank you, Amon. Without a game to see how it worked out in practice, hard to say anymore. Yeah, it's difficult. It's like Karen the Barbarian. You're so funny. Zanderfeld says it's set to followers only chat with a minimum wait time of 10 minutes. Thankfully, not 30 minutes. I will go and change that if I have the ability to change that. I didn't know there was if there is a setting for it. I guess if I had like 50,000 people following, I could see that, but it's weird. Are there comments from Twitch too? That would explain things. Yes, I use a system called Restream. Let me see if I can find the little icons here. There it is, Restream. So I use Restream, and it brings in together all of the chats in one window that I can see. So when I was broadcasting, the channel is simultaneously activated on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And when people show up, their comments go into a chat that I see together. Although I could put them on screen, and I understand people are like on their phones and things like that, and it's not my intention. I'm not expecting you guys to perfectly spell things out. I'm interpreting, and I don't want people to feel uncomfortable putting up their comments because other people might see them simply through spell checking or finger mashing or things like that. So I know you guys, some of you guys are younger and you could care less, but I'm being respectful to you guys. So that's why sometimes you're like, where's this other comment coming from? And that's because coming over from Twitch. Yeah. In our first fight with my friends in D&D, someone forgot D4 extra damage every round. We laughed about it with a joke. The next healing potion is on you because the one enemy took a bit longer than expected. Errors happen. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, who cares, right? And you look back on it, and listen, we can all make amends for it too, right? Like we go, oh, I can't believe I did that, and I was the game master. Fuck, I am so sorry, dude. Let me make it up to you, right? Yeah, things like that. Amon's like, hey, hi, YouTube audience. Yeah. I can't imagine streaming to multiple places at once. Imagines it would be hog too much bandwidth. Well, thankfully, my channel's not very big, so I don't suffer like some people where it would just be ping 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 ping. I mean, I suppose. Let me see if I can show this in here. So right now, if I there we go. Yeah, it shows up here. So if I did that, this is what it would look like if all of your combined comments showed up on the screen. And yeah, I don't mind doing that, but I like to make you guys are you're spending your valuable time here. At the minimum I can do is to highlight the things and comments and things that you guys are saying, and go that way. So much activity on Twitch. Hey Drew, you switched over to yeah. I'm real surprised. Maybe it was the words. Maybe it was like the level up advanced 5th editions. Maybe some people were getting into it or something. I don't know. Xander says, just in case, started with 2nd edition, eventually went to 5th edition since everyone's playing that. I'm an old head. I'm kind of like you. I started out with Redbox 1st and 2nd edition, AD&D. Took a break just as 3rd edition was coming out. Came back with Pathfinder. I guess some people call it 3.75. Stayed with that, ignored 4th edition, and then came into 5th edition. So, yeah. And the only reason I even ignored 4th edition was money. I was just like, I didn't even have an opinion about it. I was just like, yeah, I'm not buying more books. I'm not doing that. I don't understand how many imagine the Rage Barbarian, but Conan, many was the inspiration. Conan was smart. You know what? Conan was also, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't really a barbarian. Like the barbarian berserker that we think of in role playing. He really wasn't in this enraged. But you know what really I think changed that? I think the comic books. Do you guys remember the giant sized black and white Conan comic books? He was always like with the he had those dark set eyes that had like a shadow over his face and stuff, and they would make these splash pages of the most brutal killings. I mean, he critted all the time. For some reason, I remember one of the most amazing kills, and it didn't even show that much blood, was there was a bad guy who he ended up like kicking against a wooden frame, like a pillar, and the next page was just him slashing through the wooden frame of the pillar that was going to collapse the ceiling, and the wooden frame he slashed through it, and the wooden frame went off kilter, and you see the top of the guy's head is matched up with the top of the pillar, and the bottom of the guy's head and body is leaning to the side from the fallen pillar. And of course you knew not only did he slash this man's face, he went through the wooden pillar all in one sweet hit. And it was some comic book stuff. It was great. But in that one, he was always in his loincloth, always covered in blood, even in black and white artwork, and he was always like mean mugging, just very like the classic Berserker version of Conan, even though in the literary version he wasn't really like that. Drew says, one can see from where the comment comes, since in your display there is an icon next to the avatar that reveals their Twitch, YouTube, or Twitch. Yes. What you guys are seeing on my screen now is what I see. And what I used to do before I got to Restream was literally go to each, like YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, detach the chat windows, and then I would have each of them open and I would read them while I'm doing the show. So, which was what I'm doing now. Honestly, good to leave upstream chat because we can then respond to each other. Oh, well, thank you for that. Okay, then I'll do that. I don't mind doing that. Personally, I think the dump stat for Barbarian should be charisma. Over and over covered with battle scars. It's not pretty. Well, remember, charisma is not necessarily about being beautiful. Charisma is about having social influence, social clout. And very scary people can have a very high charisma. It's causing others to change their behaviors around that person. Intimidation, deceptions, things like that. So yeah, good looks don't have anything to do with charisma. Oh yeah, I didn't notice that on my phone. Yeah, Conan was a pretty fighter. I think he had some thieving skills too. He was pretty sneaky dude. doing a lot of climbing and sneaking and hanging off of it. Yeah, I mean, he might have had some of those. I don't know about picking locks, but and he was very cunning, very cunning because he would trick a lot of the bad guys into doing things that he didn't want to do. So he's pretty smart. Yeah. Was the literary Conan more of a regular guy? It's been a long time, but if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he was literate. I think he was very tricky. I think Conan killed brutally in order to break the morale of his enemies. Hell, yeah, he did a lot of that. Yeah, charisma dump stat. Yeah, I get it. I get why people would. Well, that's why in this Berserker they wanted to add Constitution as a replacement stat for charisma, right? So you could dump your charisma except for being intimidating and then add in your Constitution instead, right? Because there is a little bit of that too. That's where the simulationist versus narrativist thing kind of comes in, and we go, yeah, your charisma's low, but come on, you're a badass. Like, these people should be running by now. Yeah, Xanderfell says looks can have an effect, though. I think higher numbers in, say, looks should affect how powerful the effect is, because even ugliness can have a beneficial effect as much as beauty can. Yeah, I agree. He is not any class. He is Marxist and thus destroys the class system. Drew, put your fist down. You're about to rally followers to your cause. You keep this up. Oh, funny. Let me see if I can find some classic Conan artwork. Let's see. Get some images here. Bars for that. Yeah. Let's share this out here. Before we get out of here. So this, like, this is the image of Conan I grew up on. Marvel Comics, black and white imagery and such. But this other art, Boris and what was his wife's name? Sonia? I don't think this is a piece of their art, but man, they did. I think they were both weightlifters, bodybuilders, or something like that. And let me look up their artwork. Boris. Boris and Julie. Maybe they weren't. Wait, it could have been. So this is please YouTube, please don't, because they're flipping through things. This is the artwork from like the 80s that really shaped. This just really shaped the idea of what fantasy was for many of us, and their artwork really brought about like this. I don't know. It's similar to the artwork of Braun from Dark Sun that I think really shaped that era and such. And yeah, care about look beautiful. Yeah. Looks, words, and actions to be strong tools. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you there. I'm with you on that too. Yeah. Let me see if I can find some of their classic stuff in their store. Oh, I wish they had superheroes originals. Here's Boris's prints. And yes, a lot of scantily clad. A lot of the like, you know, six-pack abs, scantily clad. Ladies at the foot of monsters and things like that. But a lot of them were very, very much like barbaric as well. I'm going to get dinged for this, but and this is Boris, and then his wife is has similar artistic things. And then let me see, Julie's prints. A little more animals, spiritual. I'm sure they use models as well, and it does have a similar vibe to it, right? Spiritualism. These seem to be a little bit more modern. I'm gonna see if I can find something classic. Originals. Let's see there. Lots of dragons, monsters, alien worlds, and things like that. Kind of cool though. I don't know. This artwork shaped my Dungeons and Dragons experiences. It was just like, I want to be a badass with no clothes on. Commissions. Let's go home. Let's go back here. But yeah, same thing. Conan. All right, guys. Those two had a card game based on their art in the 90s. I didn't want to say that because I was like, didn't they have? I thought it was like a collectible cards, not card game, but like sports cards, but probably the same thing, right? Like, or similar, in a similar vein or something. But I just couldn't remember it. Here's a curiosity. Say you have the authority to make a mechanic official in D&D. What is that mechanic? Oh wow. I've already made the mechanic in another game, but if I could, since you're going to ask me this question, if I have a authority to make a mechanic in D&D, what is that mechanic? By the way, it's already been done, not by me. It's been done by other people. I think the biggest game that officially did this mechanic was by Runehammer for ICRPG. Runehammer's current game is Crown and Skull. But anyway, what I would have done is you could mechanically simulate both combat, exploration, and social encounters, and damn near everything from picking a lock to traveling across the accursed desert to climbing a cliffside to bargaining with an innkeeper by doing this one thing, and that is applying the same D20 modifiers and then applying, I hate to use this word, hit points to everything, so that to solve a problem. So in the current game that I'm designing with Mark Tassin from Atultis, Mechanical Muse Atultis. Let's see if I can find it. In that game, if you want to pick a lock, and like I said, I'm not the originator of this, but I would somehow, based on your character class and level, have a die that you would use to, air quotes, do damage to the thing. So a rogue, the smarter characters, rogues, wizards, sorcerers, things like that, would use a higher die, like a D12. As a matter of fact, how I would do it for Dungeons and Dragons, you would have a die called work that is the inversely proportional to your hit die. So a barbarian, which uses a D12, would probably have a D4 for work. And you use work to solve a problem or effort, or, well, ICRPG uses the word effort. Progress maybe, or something like that. So I would do that. Ataltis. There it is, World of Ataltis. I'm working with Mark Tassin, the creator of Ataltis, and Mechanical Muse, and part of the Kickstarter. And the reason why I would do that is because there are very few challenges and rewards related to anything outside of combat in Dungeons and Dragons. And if you want to solve a problem, oftentimes it breaks down to just a simple die roll. And I think it reduces the tension involved in making those things. So what I would do is, okay, and this is I'm a steal from an example from ICRPG. So ICRPG has something known as hearts. Every heart is 10 hit points. So a creature with 2 hearts has 20 hit points. A player character with 3 hearts has 30 hit points. And you have dice. You have dice for your melee attacks, and you have a die for your effort. And when you want to pick the lock, you have to reduce the lock. It has 1 heart, so you have to reduce it down from 10 hit points to 0. Once it gets to 0, you've picked the lock, right? And you could apply that philosophy to just about anything, and using that die roll, reduce challenge, die roll, reduce challenge, die roll, reduce challenge, you could establish tension. So if a room is filling with water and the players ignore the room filling with water to attack the monsters, well, you could have got out of that by, spreading yourself thin. Drew says would make charisma stat for initiative. There is a Knave 2nd edition does that. Ben Milton from Questing Beasts. Charisma is the stat for initiative, and the reasoning from it is because of understanding social dynamics. Like, are we going to pop off and start pulling weapons because we're having a conversation? And it's also rallying the people together for a common cause. Hey, we all need to be ready right now, blah, blah, blah. Force of personality. Yeah, charisma as a force of personality. Those people who know what they want are proactive and thus seize the initiative. Yeah. And also to get other people to go like, hey, listen, you're the most perceptive. I want you on your toes before something pops off. And we start drawing weapons. So yeah, Knave 2nd edition does charisma as initiative. Scantily clad barbarian ladies at the feet of monsters are the whole reason to get into RPGs. We need to bring them back so we can purify the hobby during this cultural decline of the 21st century. I don't know. I think it's okay to have scantily clad dudes at the feet of monsters as well. Why not? There's a whole funny artistic thing that people did where they used the Marvel character Hawkeye drawn in the same position as female characters of the similar type, and they're pretty funny. It's pretty hilarious because it looks at the like you shouldn't be able to bend your back like that and look over your rear end, over the crack of your ass that way, but whatever. Yeah, Ataltis. Funny. Worlds of Ataltis. It's something. Yeah, we'll talk about this later because you guys just have put too much of your time here. I'm trying to look for some artwork and things like that here. Oh well. Not sure if anyone enjoyed video games. Has roles and usage of all stats in it as well as loads of dialogue. Is it Sunless Skies? Imagine a steam engine train flying through space, battling eldritch horrors and navigating wonders in its a world. I've never seen such a thing. Okay, so there's the steam engine, Is this like a dreamscape? Is huh hmm is I'm gonna have to look at it. It looks chaotic, and I like it. So I'm assuming that's not water, that's air. That it looks like the little vehicles or train or engines or something is traveling around, floating islands and things like that. There's a steam engine. That's air. Ah, okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. It's Lovecraftian and inspired. It does look like that. It looks like it's got a little bit of maybe 1920s ish things hiding in the shadows that we don't understand. But only the Lady Barbarian can wear the +4 chainmail bikini of attracting 12-year-olds. Hey, listen, I was a 12-year-old that failed my my saving throws, so don't make fun. Oh man. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Thank you very much for. Yes, I'm off today. I got to take my Kitty. I got to take Sophie, the producer of the show, to the vet. She hurt her paw, and we don't know what's wrong. Also, like I said, I will. It'll be my Mondays, Absolute Tabletop Tuesdays or AbTab Tuesdays. Wednesdays are going to be basically self-promotion. For right now, it'll be Cool Name Goes Here Wednesdays, and then of course we've got A5E Thursdays, and then Future Fridays. Sanity and insanity are stats. Can't modify those. Sometimes you need terror to progress, but too much terror can get you a game over. I love games that have diametrically opposed stats on the character sheet, like when one goes up, the other goes down, and you kind of need both, and you're always playing a game of balance between the two because one needs to be higher at a certain particular. I love that shit. I do. I really do. What the hell just happened here? We are not doing this. No. Okay. Sophie pressed the like button too hard. There's something just across the screen. Anyway, first of all, thank you very much for spending your valuable time here. I really appreciate it. Also, thank you very much for you guys always bring the best, your funniest, your I don't know, just your best attitudes and things like that. And me being an old Luddite on the intertubes, I really appreciate that as well. Just because you guys just bring the energy, and I really appreciate that. Also, and fuck all the call to action. You guys know what the hell that's about. I don't really need to ask. It's a very long, quite simple, but very much worth, especially for those into heavy reading. I'm a long form individual. I don't like to do research. I like to hear what other people have to think and say, and I'm willing to listen. So, and I like having open discussion. And sometimes it's very difficult to get out our opinions and ideas and things with only using a few characters. And I understand you guys are only using a few characters anyway. And besides, I get more out of this than you guys think I do. So I appreciate it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, you get to hang out, kind of like. Imagine hanging out before or after the game, and that's what the channel's all about. We love to world build here. Sometimes I will be influenced by pop culture and go, hey, did you ever think about, and I learn very much from what you guys have to say, and vice versa. I like to share those things out. So, yep. Everybody have a great one. Yeah. Happy Vice Friday. Yeah, I think she'll be all right. Her sister passed away. She had to move on most recently, but she's still around, and Sophie's still cool. Very active, too, all things considered. But yeah, she's got a meeting, so thinks about Turtle and Lich. How'd you make it green? That's weird. Oh, and I'm gonna go over to Twitch and get rid of that 10-minute wait thing. I think it's bull. Whatever. Not here for the money, here for the interaction. So, guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Oh, it's green on my end and italic. What? That's weird. How did it bump up to 13? Oh, that's weird. Well, whoever has just stopped by, thank you very much for stopping by and having fun. We over here talk about tabletop role-playing games. We were talking about Advanced 5th Edition, or better known as Level Up Advanced 5th Edition, or A5E. Links for that are actually down below, by the way, if you guys didn't know. The links are down for that if you want to check out the game. And we're going to talk about other games as we go on. Tomorrow is Future Friday, and we will talk about, we talk about science fiction and transhumanism and posthumanism and all the science fiction tropes and things. Action, thought. All right, Dune, Benny Gesserit, I hear you. Anyway, guys, have a great one. You guys have a great day. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility.